Disclaimer, this video contains spoilers for episodes 1 and minor spoilers for episodes 2 through 4 of My Dress Up Darling. Only watching episode 1 should suffice for watching this video, but go watch the rest if you haven't already. And while you go do that, you should also know that this video is not an in-depth look or deep analysis of any kind. In fact, I've never even done a video like this before. I'm just a humble fan who wants to show some casual appreciation for a show I really like. Basically, it's my first time, so please be gentle. Enjoy! Ladies and gentlemen, it's a new year, which means there's a new lineup of winter anime once again. And yes, while everybody and their moms are probably watching AOT and Demon Slayer Season 2 right now, it's not really surprising to understand why, there's a missing piece of the Triforce that we need to talk about right now. That piece being the best non-sequel anime of winter 2022, aka My Dress Up Darling. At least, I think so. Anyways, what would you even argue? Like, worlds and harem? I mean, just get the Enter Wakana Gojo, a shy and timid high school loner who's really into making and appreciating Hina dolls. His style of life developed after being traumatized by an encounter he had with one of his childhood friends who really didn't take to his obsession too kindly. One day out of random, the most popular girl in school, Marin Kitagawa, almost falls onto Gojo both figuratively and literally. She's cheerful, super pretty, straightforward, has a bunch of friends, and is the complete exact opposite of who Gojo is. After getting up from her nasty fall, she immediately apologizes and notices a mark on Gojo's arm. Obviously taken aback by the straightforwardness, Gojo takes her hand off in a panic and tells her it's fine, not wanting to reveal that the mark is actually ink from printing Hina dolls the previous night. This sequence alone tells you the type of dynamic they're trying to create between Kitagawa and Gojo, and I think it's just amazing, but I'll speak more on it later. After school, cleaning duty gets shoved onto Gojo by two assholes who, quote, don't want to be late for work. The cleaning is kinda rough, but for a guy like Gojo who isn't the best at conversation and would probably just make it more awkward, this is better for him. Not long after, Kitagawa shows up and starts to actually clean, which leaves Gojo very confused. They engage in a conversation that basically ends up with Kitagawa saying that Gojo shouldn't let people take advantage of him and that, quote, you need to speak up about how you're feeling for your own sake. This sticks with Gojo so much so that even a couple days later, when he's cutting fabric to make some Hina doll clothes, he's still thinking about it. He realizes that he's been suppressing his feelings all his life, even back when that childhood friend of his reacted negatively to his love of Hina dolls. While he tries to go back to his sewing machine breaks, which forces him to go to sleep. Right before bed, he gets the bright idea to sew at school, so the next day after class is over, instead of heading home, he goes to sew in the home economics room. It is perfect. He's all alone because the school doesn't have an arts and crafts club yet, meaning he can bring his Hina dolls too, or so he thought. Because in comes Kitagawa, who busts the door open and in a very dramatic-esque fashion. Because of Gojo's panic, he drops his Hina doll and has to slide to save it right in front of Kitagawa, who sees everything. Realizing that it's all over and that his traumatizing childhood experience is about to happen once more, he looks down, closes his eyes, and waits. And that is when Kitagawa commends Gojo. In some weird string of events, she seems to be super impressed by his knowledge of knowing how to use a sewing machine and by the very Hina doll he's holding. She asks if he made the Hina doll, and Gojo replies saying he didn't and that he only knows how to make their clothes, which piques Kitagawa's interest immensely. Then in a very, let's just say, cultured scene, she starts to undress and tells Gojo to look the other way, eventually telling him to look back, where it's revealed that she just wanted to show Gojo a new piece of clothing she sewed herself, which is supposed to be the top of a character she wants to cosplay, Shizuku-tan. Absolutely nobody thought anything differently. Realizing the actual situation, Gojo is appalled. Appalled from how atrocious of a job Kitagawa did of sewing it. I mean, he just starts ripping into Kitagawa about how terrible the cosplay is, about how the material needs a lining, the fact that she doesn't even know what a lining is, how she hasn't done any of the reverse stitching, how wrinkled it is. The list just goes on, eventually leaving poor Kitagawa in tears. Gojo immediately starts kneeling and apologizing after he recognizes that he's gone way too far, even telling Kitagawa that she should just kill him now. Kitagawa tells him to relax and affirms him that she's not actually mad at all. She tells Gojo that she sewed that piece of clothing all because she wanted to cosplay, revealing that she's a major nerd because she wants to wear the same things any manga or game characters wear, even remarking that it's the ultimate form of love, as you can, quote, express just how much you love your faves. Which is pretty sweet. And in a very, very powerful scene, she asks Gojo to make her cosplay outfits. She doesn't really know anybody else who's skilled at sewing, and due to her own inability, can't do it well either. It's her dream to become Shizuku-tan because she matters a lot to her. Gojo is shocked, having flashbacks playing inside his head about somebody whose style of life and words he idolizes and is inspired by currently asking for his help. Then, almost as if to say you shouldn't be relying on somebody like me, Gojo pushes Kitagawa's hands back, which makes her sad initially, but then he says he'll do it. Of course, Gojo isn't sure of himself. He's never even made clothes for a person before, but he says he'll do everything he can to make sure it becomes a success. Nearly pinching herself, Kitagawa asks to confirm 3 more times, and when Gojo agrees all 3, her eyes sparkle like those of a Hina doll before she gets super cheerful and starts to jump around. This is their origin story. This is how a Hina doll obsessed loner and the most popular girl otaku in school form their partnership to make and showcase cosplays. It's the kickoff to an adventure that you should definitely tune into this season and that you don't want to miss because it is absolutely fucking brilliant. But why? Writing obviously needs to be solid for every show. This is especially true when you don't have big budget action like the Attack on Titans or Demon Slayers of this season. Not to say that those shows have any bad writing, of course. Thankfully, My Dress Up Darling delivers on this aspect perfectly. Not only because of the beautifully written source material, but also thanks to the talent of Yoriko Tomito, who's done a fantastic job of writing the script for the first 5 episodes, one of which we haven't even seen yet. And they did a great job, because the writing feels very grounded. It's what I believe to be realistic, and it all just kind of flows really smoothly. Kitagawa speaks with a bit more oomph in her speech, being more laid back and not afraid to use slang, unlike the very reserved and more formal Gojo. It does a great job of contrasting the different personalities and definitely deserves some praise for that. And of course, because it's a rom-com, the comedy bits are great. The timing is spot on, and even the framing, which admittedly, I don't know too much about, works really well. The score, which unfortunately I can't show you much of, is great. It's written by Takashi Nakatsuka and produced by the godly Shinji Yamauchi, whose past work includes Kaguya, the Monogatari series, and even VV in 86 of last year, just to name a few. Generally, all the songs are great, but the standout track for me is this jazzy upbeat one from episode 3. Its melody, which I think is being played with a recorder, simply just bangs. The violins, light drums, and whatever other instruments that I can't identify myself just complements it to perfection. However, even with the show being primarily upbeat, it also doesn't shy away from being more serious when it wants to. It somehow does this without feeling out of place at all, and then can effortlessly switch back to happy-go-lucky vibes in an instant, most notably during episode 1 with Gojo contemplating his value as a friend, and all of episode 4 when Gojo's grandpa ends up in the hospital. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. I'm sure you're already well acquainted with the gorgeous animation that's been playing throughout this entire video. Cloverworks has Neto style very similar to that of their own, while also matching the manga perfectly. Sometimes they even sprinkle in these little beats where the animation gets turned up to an 11, which is just pure eye candy, plus I was literally in shock after watching the PV and seeing how Marin looks. Now, if you've been around the weeb circle for a while and have watched a few good shows similar to this genre, you'd realize that there's nothing inherently new. Besides a unique twist with a seamstress and a cosplayer, nothing about the formula has changed, but the thing is it doesn't have to. Why try to reinvent the wheel? Why try to change what already works? I don't even think that's the goal of My Dress Up Darling, but don't get me wrong, My Dress Up Darling doesn't just work, it works extremely well. It incorporates already well-known elements with amazing execution. That's why it's a good show, not because it does anything extravagantly new or introduces a twist to the entire genre. It knows what it has to do to be good, and it does it to damn near perfection. If you're looking for a break from the politically morally questionable genocidal thrillers, from the gut-wrenching demon-slaying action, or maybe you just want to chill out this season, then please give My Dress Up Darling a shot. It's funny, relaxing, and feel good, plus it even has Marin Kitagawa. You definitely don't want to miss out on her because just like the title of this video, she is best girl.
Delicious!